Welcome to Talk to Me Baby, the show that believes knowing yourself and living in accordance with who you are is the biggest asset you can possess in life. I'm your host, Emily de Armas, and today we are going to talk about how to stop obsessing and ruminating. So, why is it that sometimes we get into obsessive, repetitive thought patterns and repetitive habits when it comes to our ways of thinking and our ways of behaving and our ways to reacting to situations in life? It's almost like we get stuck in this time loop and it's Groundhog Day every single day, and we're obsessing about something that's either happened in the past or we're obsessing about something that might happen in the future, and all we can think about is this thing that is on our mind, and it is ultimately taking us away from the present moment and from feeling powerful, because you only have power in the present. Why is that? We're going to talk about that. Let's dive into small talk. So, obsessive thinking and obsessive ruminating. I certainly have experienced this, especially when I was younger. I used to ruminate a lot and obsess a lot about how I was being perceived, how I was being taken by my peers, for example. If I said something that was a little weird or a little strange, I would think about it a lot, like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh no, I shouldn't have done this, or I should have done that. And I think it's because most of the time growing up, I felt very weird. I am weird, and now I think that's awesome. But before, I did not think it was awesome. I thought it was strange. And when you're the weird kid growing up, and you're the girl that can't play Barbies with everyone else because you have such an imagination that you're like, Barbie's going to the mall, really, that's boring. And you want to create these like fanciful stories with Barbie. Like my stories with Barbie were about Barbie being a witch. I think it's because I was obsessed with the show Bewitched, and Samantha Montgomery was a witch on there. I loved that, and I wanted to be a witch. I wanted to have magical powers. And so I wanted my Barbies to also have magical powers, and I wanted them to go on these adventures. I didn't want them to just like get in a convertible and drive down the street. That was like, really? That's all we're going to do? Really? Even like as a very, very small child. So I often felt a little out of place amongst my peers and a little strange. I would hold myself to that microscope when it came to how I was reacting to things, how people saw me, how people thought of me. And it was really a very intense obsession. And I'm sure a lot of teenagers can relate to that. Or if you think about yourself back in those years, you can probably relate to that, where you're obsessed with this idea of being cool or being perceived as cool and fitting in. And obviously we have very deeply rooted reasons for that, because we don't want to be cast out by society because of our lizard brain and a way that our lizard brain is wired to believe that if we are to be cast out by society, then we will not survive and we will die on our own. I don't need to tell you this. You are probably aware of this phenomenon, but it can keep us stuck in rumination, whether you are a teenager or not. You can get very sucked into repetitive thinking. Some of the ways that I like to come out of obsessive thinking or ruminating, if I know I'm just kind of going over the same thing over and over in my mind, is to say, okay, wait, what's actually happening right now? If this was a scene out of a movie and I'm writing the script, what does it say? It probably says woman is sitting on her couch, right? Like nothing is actually happening. Literally in time and space, what is happening right now? I am sitting on my sofa and I am thinking, right? Whatever I'm thinking about is not actually happening right now. Whatever conversation I'm replaying in my head, not happening. Whatever future scenario I'm concerned about, not happening now. So one very quick way to get yourself out of it is to just remind yourself, okay, what's actually happening right now in time and space? If somebody were to have this bird's eye view of me in time, space, reality right now, what would they see? Would they see a person driving in their car? Would they see a person just sitting there thinking? Like that's literally what you're doing. You are sitting there and you are thinking, and not in the, is it Rodin thinking sculpture kind of a way? Nothing is happening in 3D reality except for what's going on in your mind. The next thing that you can do to stop this obsession or rumination is to ask yourself, what is your goal here? Because if you're thinking about the past, I hate to break it to you, that's pretty much useless. I have been there. I totally get it. But it's useless because you can't do anything about it. Whatever happened, happened. Okay? You can't change it because it already happened. It already went however it went. And by hyper-focusing on that, all you are doing is taking away your power. All you're doing is contributing to a feeling of powerlessness. And if the situation at hand that you're ruminating about made you feel powerless in the first place, all you're doing is perpetuating that state of being because you're just thinking about a situation that you have absolutely no control over right here and now. You cannot go to the past and you can't change it. You can't do anything about it. So by obsessively thinking about it, all you're doing is making yourself feel worse. And if you're ruminating alternatively about something that's happening in the future or going to happen in the future, and you are basically worrying, again, you can't control the future. So the next logical question becomes, can I actually do anything about this? Can I do anything about what happened? No. Can I do anything about what's potentially going to happen, what I'm thinking about in the future? If you can, take that action. Okay, if you can do something, research something, talk to somebody, find out information, right? If there's a concrete action step that you can take, go ahead and do that. But otherwise, if you are thinking about some hypothetical situation, you don't have any power. You are creating a story. And if you are worrying and you're obsessively thinking because you're worrying about something, I read a quote that said, worrying is like worshiping the problem. And do you want to do that? Do you want to be obsessing about the problem? Do you want to be thinking about maybe what could go right? Just a thought. You have the ability to choose your thoughts at any moment, even if it may not feel like that. Even if it may not feel like that's within your power, it is within your power. It just takes a little practice. And it's not hard, it's just different. Can we rebrand hard to different? I vote to rebrand. It's hard to, it's different. It's not hard to do, it's different to do. It's new to do. It's something that maybe you haven't done before, but it's not hard to change your thoughts. It's not hard to change your attitude. It's not hard to get a handle on your emotions, on your thoughts, on how you carry yourself in the world. It's absolutely not hard to do that. It's just different to do. And so just like anything else in your life that at one point was brand new to you and you didn't know how to do it, like, oh, I don't know, walking and riding a bike and driving a car and just being a general human adult in this time-space reality, you have figured it out, right? Like, I guarantee you there are things that you're doing all the time that at first seem like, I've never done this before, I don't know what I'm doing, but then you figure out how to do it. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to do it well. You're probably going to suck at it in the beginning. That is okay. That's part of the process. But it's not hard. Stop telling yourself it's hard. Oh my God, it's so hard. No, it's not hard. It's just different. It's just different. It's not hard. It's just different. We have to pay attention to the way that we're defining things because how we define things is then going to become our default setting. So if you are defining things as hard, then they're going to be hard and they're going to continue to be hard. I challenge you to think about things as being different and not hard. Your last tip on how to stop obsessively thinking about things is to ask yourself, what is it that you really want? My last tip for how to stop obsessively thinking is to figure out what it is that your brain is looking for. Is your brain looking for validation? Is it looking for answers? Is it looking for control? Most of the time, it's going to be control. Because keeping yourself in a state of obsessive thinking, whether you're thinking about the past or you're thinking about the future, is going to draw you away from the present moment, right? That's why the first step that we talked about is so helpful, to just remind yourself of what's actually happening right now. Oh, I'm just sitting on the sofa thinking, like nothing is actually happening. I'm in my kitchen and I'm obsessing about something. I'm sitting here with a friend and I'm supposed to be listening to her, but actually my mind is going thinking about some other thing. So part of what that exercise does is it brings you back to the present moment. But how you can take that a step further is to figure out what is it that your brain is seeking. So especially when we're looking at the past, but also in the future to an extent, what we're looking for is an answer, because we have created in copywriting what we call an open loop. So some of you guys know that I'm a copywriter. Copywriter basically just means somebody that writes things for advertising. And an open loop is a technique that we use to get somebody to continue to read or listen or engage with the ad or the piece that we're writing. So you 100% have fallen victim to an open loop at some point in time. I know you have, because we all do, because we're wired that way. So if you are given a piece of information that creates a question in your mind, your brain wants to get the answer. So now your brain is like, no, wait, I need to circle back. I need to close the loop. So if somebody, let's say you're watching a YouTube, this just happened to me today. I was watching a YouTube video, okay, and the guy was like, these common snacks are things that actually contribute to weight gain. And then he started talking about other things, about weight and how you put on weight in the body. And he was giving this breakdown of, I don't know, whatever. I fast forwarded because that's how much I wanted to close the loop. I was like, yeah, I don't have time for this. I know what you're doing. Okay, just tell me the information. But that's the open loop. What do you mean? What snacks? What common snacks that most people eat are actually contributing to weight gain? I want to know what the answer is. And then the person goes on to tell you a bunch of other stuff before they actually give you the answer that your brain wants. And that is how we close the loop. Because think about it. If you started watching a movie and you're 30 minutes in, 35 minutes in, things are starting to happen, the plot line is starting to get more interesting, and then boom, we turn it off, you'd be like, well, wait, now I need to know what happens. Because you have been invested in that situation. And now you want to know how the movie ends. You have a massive open loop, probably multiple open loops of, well, how is this plot line going to wrap up? What happened to little Susie? And did they ever solve the mystery of the missing shoes? You're going to have an open loop in your mind. That sounds like a riveting movie, by the way. And you want to close it. So when you're obsessively thinking, ask yourself, what answer am I trying to arrive at? Because just replaying a situation in your mind is not getting you the answer that you want. Whatever happened, happened. You can't change what happened. It already is the past. You can't go back there. You can't redo things. So what is your brain really trying to accomplish? And a lot of times your brain is trying to maintain a sense of control, especially if things didn't go how you wanted them to go. Or if you feel like there's something you could have done, what could I have done differently? Or how could I have handled the situation differently? Or how could this have played out differently? That's great if you're trying to learn and grow because you want to potentially handle situations in your life from a different approach in the future. But once you've arrived at that conclusion, then theoretically the thinking should stop because there's nowhere else to go beyond that. What is it that your brain is hooked on, and can you close the loop? Because it's not helping you, because the past is the past and the future is the future. You are here now. And that leads me to our deep talk. When you are obsessively thinking, no matter what the cause is, no matter what the reason is, if you're ruminating, none of that matters. All you are doing is taking yourself away from the present moment. And by doing so, you're gaining some kind of a benefit. Usually, in my experience, that benefit is a feeling of control because you're thinking about things and it gives you control over a situation that you either no longer have control over because it's the past or you cannot have control over because it is the future. It gives you a false sense of I'm actually doing something. But as with anything in life, we don't need to define ourselves by what has happened or by what hasn't happened. Okay? You are worthy in the present moment, regardless of what has happened in your life in the past or regardless of what is going to happen in the future. This present moment is the only thing that you have power over, and the only thing that you can, quote unquote, control is your reaction to the present moment and what you're doing in the present moment. And I think a lot of us, we obsess and we ruminate because we're tying ourselves to that situation in some ways. And you don't have to. You can actually rewrite your past and influence the future by deciding what you're doing here and now. Because you can be new at any moment. So if you find yourself in this thought spiral and it feels hard, I'm not going to say hard anymore, it feels different to get yourself out of it, you know that you can decide to be new any moment in time. You don't have to be the person that you were a year ago, a month ago, 5 minutes ago. You can be new in any moment, and you can approach things from a new perspective in any moment. And you know how I know that? Because I bet you can act. I'm not saying you're good at it, okay? But if I gave you a script and I said, you're going to play this character, and this is the background of the character, and this is what the character wears, and this is what the character's feeling, and this is who the character is and where they live, and blah, 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 you could step into that character. You could assume the identity of that character. If I just gave you a script and I was like, you are Delilah. She grew up on a cow farm, okay? She really likes wearing gingham, and her favorite thing to eat is strawberry shortcake. I bet you could be Delilah. I bet you could. And if I gave you some other character, I said, oh, this is Alina. She is from New York and she's really tough in her exterior and she wears leather jackets and she, likes to throw rocks at pigeons. I don't know. Like, you don't throw rocks at pigeons. That's horrible. You could be Alina too. I know you could. You can step into whatever character. So you can step into a new version of you, a different character, if you will, of who you've been. You can choose to be somebody outside of who you've been playing for a long time. And if there's a situation in your life that you are obsessively thinking about, I want you to ask yourself, what is the benefit of me thinking about this situation? Because there's always a benefit. There's always a hidden benefit to what it is that we're doing. So if you are obsessing about something constantly and you're ruminating about something, ask yourself, what benefit do I get? Because a lot of times the benefit is that you stay stuck and you keep yourself exactly where you are and you don't allow yourself to move forward. And there can be many reasons why we don't allow ourselves to move forward. It might be fear of the unknown. It might be that little pesky control issue again. It might be because we don't like how things went in the past and we just haven't made peace with it and we're pissed off about it. Damn it. That's all valid. But you do not need to remain the character that you were just a moment ago. You can always choose to step into a new character. You can always assume a different approach. You can carry yourself differently. This is what people mean when they're like, main character energy. Literally pretend you are a character. It's not hard to be somebody else. It's not hard to pretend. That's a way to get yourself out of that obsessive thought loop. Adopt a different persona in this moment. If you think about who you want to be in life and how you want to feel and how you want to carry yourself and the attributes that that person has, you can start to embody that. And when you start to embody that, you will actually look at past situations differently. They won't have the same hold on you. You won't have the same perspective because you are looking at them as if you are an entirely different person, because you are. You have created a new person. I guarantee that you have the capacity to do that, because if you can adopt the personality traits, or you can pretend or make believe that you're somebody who has a completely different life experience and background from you, then you can absolutely 100% choose to be a different version of yourself and loosen the grip that obsessive thinking and rumination has. The last and final tip I will give you is to think about it from your higher self perspective. How would my higher self be reacting right now? Would she be behaving in this way? Yes or no? Would she even be thinking about this? Yes or no? And then compare that to how you've been acting and behaving and thinking and feeling. And take a very hard look at that and say, no, she wouldn't be doing this. And it takes practice. You're going to have to catch yourself again and again and again. Nope, that's not how my higher self would react. Nope, that's not what my higher self would be thinking right now or saying right now or doing right now. And then step into character. And as you practice that, you will feel the thoughts and the experiences and whatever it is that has been keeping you in this obsessive loop start to unravel and start to settle and start to dissipate and then disappear. Like magic. It's not hard, it's just different. This has been your episode of Talk to Me Baby. As always, if you enjoyed this, please do the internet things like comment, subscribe, rate the podcast, do all the things. It helps tremendously because I'm just one girl against the algorithm, okay? So I would really appreciate it if you enjoyed this. Please do let me know. And I will talk to you later.